So this episode, I think, might be one of the best episodes of the spinoff so far. I really enjoyed this episode. I think that I underestimated how much Daryl can really lead his own story, and it's really making me think about, season one of this show, and really how much that season was just really like a standalone Daryl story, and how much I really enjoyed that story. And so, let's actually get into the episode here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, I apologize for not having my review out yesterday and the videos and stuff like that. I posted it on Twitter, so if you're interested in knowing like what happened yesterday, pretty crazy, scary thing happened, and everyone's okay, so that's good. But it was just something that there was no way after that I was going to be able to really just focus on editing and everything, especially because of just a lot of the stuff that was happening. But again, if you're interested in all that, I posted it on Twitter and stuff, but let's just get into the review here. So Daryl, Carol, and Antonio, they're traveling in this episode to go and find Roberto and Justina, and they find him pretty much right away. And I will say, as much as I really like this episode, I don't like a lot of this. Like, there's a lot of random storylines here that I feel like happened way too fast. And this is really why I don't think that even 8 episodes works with, The Walking Dead, because I think having one more episode would work a lot better. But if you really look at this episode, what worked so well was Daryl just surviving in the desert, basically, right? Like, it was really, if you look at it, kind of a bottle episode in some way, because Daryl was just helping out this other, place to get water and everything. And really, he's on his way to Barcelona, but this other thing happened. But this bottle episode, in a sense, was really one of the best episodes that we've gotten, of the spinoff so far. And so that's kind of what I mean when, getting more seasons, 16 episodes or going to 12 or 13 or just something like that. I think having, 16 episodes works so well because we get a lot of episodes like this where it's much more of a, slower paced story, and you get these really iconic moments. Honestly, there's a lot of moments here with Daryl where I'm like, this is probably one of my favorite moments from the character that I've gotten, really ever, honestly. And so with Carol's story in this episode, I will say, I feel like Carol's story here just didn't necessarily matter that much to the episode, because it was a lot of just stuff with her and Antonio, which, I guess maybe is going to be a thing. It does kind of feel forced in some way, but again, I can sort of blame the episode count on that. I think if there were 16 episodes and you built up something there over a long time, then by the end of the season, you can start to see something like that sort of happening, right? And I think just having 7 episodes for the season, something building like this by episode 5 is just so fast. Daryl decides to go to Barcelona, though, and that's just sort of what the episode was really about for the most part. And Carol and Antonio obviously take Roberto back to Salas del Mar, and there is some really interesting stuff that does happen there. Carol and Antonio do lie to Fede about what happened, and so for the most part, that's pretty much, all that is that they kind of lie to him about, the people that they actually encountered, that Alcazar was actually there and everything. And, to me, I don't necessarily understand why they're lying about it. I feel like that almost puts the whole place kind of at risk, right? Because if something does happen, then he's not going to know. He's not going to know anything. If anything, he should know so that they can actually prepare for a battle that could happen. So I don't really agree with that. I feel like Carol would be a lot smarter than to lie in a situation like that. And so, I don't know, to me, I just kind of felt like that just didn't make a lot of sense. But Roberto is recovering. He's sort of in a state of limbo, I guess, is kind of what they say in the episode. And I guess Carol does want Antonio to go to America with them, but he just really got pretty confused, I would say, about the whole situation. And so, but the more exciting storyline for this episode here was Daryl going to Barcelona. And so I really liked a lot of this, and I feel like looking back at the episode that this really should have been the episode. If you go back to classic Walking Dead days, the way that this would have played out here is in the very beginning, we would have saw Carol, Antonio, and Daryl, traveling to go find Roberto. And so what would have happened was, Daryl was like, well, I'll just go somewhere else or whatever, right, to Barcelona. And so he goes, and then Carol and Antonio go to find Roberto and Justina. So we would see Daryl go somewhere. And this episode would just focus on Daryl going to, obviously, Barcelona. And I guess the whole thing that happened in this episode. And then the next episode, we would see Carol and Antonio trying to find Roberto and Justina and just the whole reveal there. And I'm sure they can work out the story a little differently so that it makes a lot of sense for when they go back and they have to lie to Fede and everything. So the whole spaghetti Western thing, I feel like in this episode was really fully explored. Like, they've been talking about that a lot. Like, literally, if you've been following all of the interviews for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3, it's been a lot of talk of like spaghetti Westerns and like this and that, you know, and you just hear it constantly. And so now we finally got that. And yeah, definitely, this was really that, you know, for the episode. And so we see Daryl, he finds like this random guy walking out there and he wants water. And I will say, this whole scene was so terrifying. The music, everything here, I feel like there was, you know, a certain tone of the episode that the show had before this moment, that after this moment, I was left with really just like the rest of the episode. Because like, it really felt like terrifying to see that guy there and like the music playing and everything. And Daryl was just like in a desert. And like this is the type of horror that we want to see in the apocalypse. We want to see this, like moments like that where it's just like, what is happening? You know, like we all remember when Rick Grimes, you know, found that woman that was, you know, I guess tried to kill him afterwards, but he asked her like, you know, the 3 questions. And that episode was pretty much just that. It was Rick Grimes, you know, I guess trying to help her and all of that. And it's moments like that that I really miss from The Walking Dead, because we don't get a lot of that. Like, that's why I don't like the shorter seasons. I really am just not a fan of the shorter seasons. It's just, it doesn't make it really interesting. You're not really that well connected, I feel like, with the characters. And I think that's why this episode was just so refreshing to watch. It was just something that we haven't seen in a while. Daryl does actually go, he finds a train at first. And so he's like, you know, he sees somebody playing a guitar and then 3 bikers chase him. And so he actually is like in this whole showdown there. And that was a lot of fun. I will say the only thing that I feel like was sort of a missed opportunity here in a lot of this was the choice of music here, because the music was very, I will say, not necessarily, you know, I guess like Western-like, right? Like if you actually watch the episode Insider, the music they use there really makes it feel like, wow, this is actually really cool. But the actual music of the episode does really just kind of feel like, you know, the music that's really been there all season. So I feel like the choice of music could have been different there, but it is what it is. Daryl actually loses his bike, though. I was really shocked by that. I was wondering how this was going to play out. It was a really cool scene. But like both of them are injured, and like that makes a lot of sense, because I was thinking about how that's going to play out. Like they're both driving at each other, and like that makes the most sense that that's going to happen, right? Like it's not like they have swords or something like that. Like that was most likely going to be what happened there. And so Daryl's hurt. Obviously, he loses his bike and everything, and then he ends up lost in the desert. I really like this, and so I made a note here saying that the pacing was really fast. I do feel like, you know, I want more of this, like just Daryl surviving in the desert, like say it's a couple of episodes or something. I think that would be so cool to see, but again, like the pacing is just so fast because it's 7 episodes, right? So I had to make a note of that here, even though I did really like a lot of it. I think that just seeing him struggle a lot more out there and like trying to survive and like, you know, really wanting water and everything. Like when he actually gets to that place and he gets water, like I kind of forgot, like, yeah, obviously he's going to be like really thirsty, right? But I feel like we should have really saw like just how much he was struggling with everything, because that kind of reminds me of the episode, I believe in season 5, when they're all on the road and they're going to Alexandria. Well, eventually they're going to end up there, and they're all trying to collect rainwater and everything like that. So there is actually at this moment a Daryl Dixon flashback scene, which I thought was pretty cool. And I mean, I don't really know what's happening here. I feel like they're building this up to the finale, because episode 6 could give us some of that. But based off of the trailer, first of all, I will say that trailer was really exciting because I didn't really recognize a lot of the footage there. So I feel like the trailer gave us a lot of footage for the first like 5 episodes. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where this is going to build up to by the finale. And but we do see Daryl here. He actually runs into this group here. I was actually really curious as to what was going on here with this group, but it looks like they all have leprosy, I believe. And so, yeah, really interesting group. I think that like the main character that was there, that was talking to Daryl a lot, like the character was really, really interesting. It was the way the character was just staring at Daryl all the time. And Daryl was just like, you know what I mean? It was just really interesting to see him find a different community, and everything felt so different, and he was trying to communicate with them. And it was just like, again, like they needed water. And so Daryl, he's a hero, right? And so is he going to help them out? he actually does. And I think that that right there makes this episode so inspirational. And that's kind of why I don't like a lot of the, Carol and Antonio storyline. I feel like they really could have just used that storyline a little bit in the beginning, but like mostly focused on Daryl for the most part in this episode. I think it would have just made this episode a lot better. Daryl does actually agree to help them out though. And then, eventually he sees the bikers and everything, and the whole entire place fights back, which was really cool. And so, yeah, I will say there was a lot of like Mad Max vibes and everything here. I think this whole sequence here, again, if you're looking at just how the episode plays out, there were so many just like exciting moments throughout the entire episode. And like, this was something that was really cool to see. It was cool to see the whole place fighting back, Daryl getting all of them to fight back. And then, yeah, eventually, obviously, he goes to the train and then he takes everyone out there. And I think that this scene was probably, I feel like, one of my favorite scenes since, I guess, Daryl with the bazooka, right? In season 6. Like, that was such a really incredible scene to have now. Like, we actually have this scene where Daryl, he like jumps on a train and then he like takes everyone out. And like, he literally like, swings into the window, smashes into the window, takes everyone out there. There's all those walkers. And also, you get a really different type of encounter there with, I guess, that guy that was there. And he's just like, wait, hold on one second. Like, he needs to catch his breath kind of thing. And then Daryl takes him out after in like the most brutal way possible. Like, that was just absolutely insane. He didn't have to grab the shotgun afterwards. Like, that was just okay. And then we see Daryl going back there. And I guess, they all have water now. And so Daryl is a hero. And I really liked that this episode just made Daryl feel like a hero, because obviously he's been questioning that all season long, right? Like, should I really even help out here? And being in a community like that, it just made so much sense. And I don't know if it was the actress and just the way she delivered the line where she was like, I know you're just going to take this and leave, basically, right? Like, I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like that, where it was like, I know you're just probably going to take the truck and leave. You're not going to help us out. And like, just that whole thing there, I was like, yeah, Daryl's probably going to do this. But I actually felt like, no, Daryl should stay here and help out. And so Daryl actually did that. And when everyone gets water afterwards, it's just like, that's incredible. That whole thing is amazing. The whole ending sequence there with Daryl, I guess he gets the thermos or whatever, and now he's riding off on his motorcycle, going to Barcelona. That was just honestly a really just incredible scene. This episode is the best episode of the season. I don't think the next 2 episodes are going to be any better. I'm sure they're going to be good episodes. I'm saying that like in terms of, what this story was, I really love this episode a lot. And so this episode, I think I'm going to give like a 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, like it would be a 10 out of 10 if a lot of the Carol and Antonio scenes weren't there. I really think that hurt the episode here quite a bit, because a lot of that, like, I understand you're trying to find Roberto and all that, but I just feel like the story there is a little bit messy, and you could have done something a little bit differently there and just really focused on Daryl going to Barcelona and this whole story here, and just really made it like this really epic story. Again, it was really like that still. That's why I'm rating it at 9.5, but there's just like little things like that I would change. I still really enjoyed like really a lot of this episode here, and it looks like a lot of people did too. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. I also will say the whole Barcelona thing is really interesting. Like Daryl going there, I do wonder if there's going to be something with Jeffrey Grimes. I don't know, but it is interesting when you consider what Carol said in episode 4, I believe. It was 3 or 4. And then, episode 5 obviously is going to Barcelona now. So we'll have to wait and see. But anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.